That live tweeting stuff, though, that was hilarious. Oh man, y'all, welcome to the Bonnet Chronicles. I'm your host, Kalari Gamachek. I might have started off with a little bit of mirth because I was reading something on Twitter about a live tweeting of a rice incident from last year, but it has been anything but mirthful. We have a lot to talk about, so I'm going to get it fired up. I already put the word out for anybody who wants to join the chat. And mind you, this week we're going to do stuff a little bit differently. I have disabled the sound alerts so that you cannot buy them with channel points during this cast because I don't want people spamming the chat while we're trying to talk on these topics. I will try to bring them back in some capacity later on, and they will be included on the gaming cast. But for the Bonnet Chronicles, it's hard enough to keep from getting distracted, so I'm going to keep those at bay for now. But this week really has been kind of gross. Even if you're not a woman, the rights of women should be important to you. And a lot of people have been showing their ass, giving opinions on this situation without really understanding what's going on. And welcome to the chat, Zai. I hope you had a good week, and I hope you're ready to have a relaxing Labor Day weekend. I just feel like there's a lot of people just weighing in. Hey, everybody, Axio. Everybody's weighing in on this situation. Some people have made valid points, some people haven't, and some people are trying to dunk on Texas. And y'all need to stop because if you want to know how we got here, you need to look in the mirror if you haven't done the right thing and if you did the right thing. Because I need to call out some of you guys who, oh, I voted for Hillary. I did the right thing. I'm part of the 47%. Y'all didn't check your clanmates. Y'all didn't check your friends. You didn't check your relatives who went whole hog for this nonsense. And then you have a lot of energy to check black people like me who are tired of carrying the load. Or you want a pat on your head for doing bare minimum. And while I am pro at least doing bare minimum, I'm getting really tired of having debates with white people who barely get that done, who want pats on their head for doing bare minimum. Because when I looked at that photo of Abbott and his ghoul squad, there were a lot of white women making those heart hands while taking away body autonomy for women. And I need y'all to understand why it's so dangerous to act like not collecting your cousins or at least letting them know that you are not okay with their choices is unacceptable. Because in my culture, we are constantly talking to each other. There is no wiggle room when it comes to collecting somebody who is acting a fool, or at least telling them, okay, you want to be like that? You do you, but you do it away from me. There are too many people, and thank you for the subscribe. Welcome to the chat, Capricorn. And it's okay, I just got started. There's a difference in the way a lot of cultures dialogue with each other. Some cultures feel like, oh, I shouldn't say something if there's a difference of opinion. Some people think, well, as long as I do the right thing, it doesn't matter. In black culture, minding our business is hard. But also, when we see somebody fucking up that'll fuck up everything for all of us, we tell you about it. Welcome to the chat, G. Feldman. And for real, I feel like a lot of people don't benefit from this reality, and y'all need to. Because that, oh, I don't wanna rock the boat. We gotta sit together at Thanksgiving. No, you don't. There's COVID going on. I have made it clear that my Thanksgiving is gonna be 3 people, and I'm not planning for any visitors. I got so much that I want to talk about, but the amount of gross ass misogyny this week is just the tip of the iceberg. Like you had these guys from like Food Network, wannabe comedians talking about how long a woman should know when they're gestating, making a dunk that any woman who's past 6 weeks and doesn't know she's pregnant is a whore. I guess I'm a whore then. I went 38 weeks. Kiddo was not a planned pregnancy. Kiddo happened during a time where I was under heavy medication for psychiatric issues. The body does not work the way some people think it is, and some of you slept in biology class if you think a woman can know that she's pregnant in 6 weeks. Your body doesn't even begin to change in 6 weeks. I think a lot of people need to pay more attention in science class, definitely, and a lot more you need to understand civics. So I will be weighing in on that tonight as well. But the whole thought of a state pushing forward these antiquated, draconian laws on female body doesn't surprise people like me because too many people don't take local elections seriously. You see it all the time now on TikTok and being shared on YouTube and Facebook and Twitch and all other social medias where people go into these school board meetings yelling like idiots, talking about, oh, I want critical race theory and oh, masking goes against my rights. And you see a lot of societal disconnect infusing into our county meetings and our board meetings because these people know they can go there to yell. But if we elected more people with more sense, they wouldn't be able to do that. They wouldn't feel free to do that. So many people wonder how guys like Abbott could smile as he passed stuff like that. Guys like DeSantis could actually tell a county in Broward, which I lived in, that I'll take your money away if you push mask mandates. The cruelty is the point of conservatism. It always has been. They don't care about life. They make comments about being pro-life when they're literally sentencing good people to death by not pushing common sense. They don't want you to mask up. They don't want you to get vaccinated. They don't care who dies because as long as their pockets are full, that's all that ever mattered to them. Exactly, Axia. And it's just so frustrating, Capricorn, to see the my rights people be so loud and so wrong. And so many people are going, what can we do? We organize. I know it seems like, well, that sounds too simplistic. It really is. People just make it more complicated than it is. Getting people together to make sure they can vote, make sure they can vote safely, making sure that the candidate that is running is willing to do the work legislative wise. And when I say work, some of you make it seem like you've got to be out there doing all the lifting yourself. Organization means just that. The amount of times people have spent online just hem-hawing, arguing with each other. You could be formulating groups to make sure that people are on their registration and get into their polls or getting their absentee or mail-in ballots filled out. There are several ways to organize in the digital age that isn't even that much work. I've said it before. Phone banking, text banking, since going out during a fucking global pandemic is still dangerous. If you have anxiety and you don't want to talk on the phone, text banking is for you too. Utilizing your platforms to spread awareness of all your local elections. And if you're feeling froggy running for said local elections, you realize how many seats come up in districts for county, school board, comptroller, treasurer that people just let go to the wayside, and then some right-wing yahoo uses that to get their start in politics. How do you think dropouts like Marjorie Taylor Greene, and this is not to knock all dropouts before people try to ding me on that. I know the education system is a mess, but that child should not be a representative, and you know it. Every time I see her name trending on Twitter, it's for something stupid, including misappropriating quotes to historical figures, because you know she's never really read a book. And her other no frills Barbie twin, Bobber, is just as bad. There's a reason why I blocked them because so many people love to hate amplify them that I know that if I didn't, I'd see their mess every day. And I don't want to see it. Stop amplifying these empty headed vessels and work on organizing. The amount of people I see taking time every day to argue with Brie Cheese, it ain't worth it. And I know y'all use your voices for other things, but focus on what's important. They are there to distract us. We need to keep our eye on the prize because we have seen what apathy does. And as I was saying earlier, if you want a mirror to why what's happening in Texas and what will probably happen in Florida and Georgia and Arkansas and Mississippi and every state that has a GOP leader, look no further than in that mirror because we didn't take shit seriously when we should have. And when I say we, if you did the right thing, you're probably not even feeling like I'm talking to you, and that's good because I shouldn't have to preface every time I say we. I am so tired of people wanting me to coddle their feelings. We can't afford to coddle people's feelings. We have to strategize and organize because we are dealing with people who want things fast and ready, like it's a fucking Little Caesars. We have people who just want chaos because that's how they get their jollies. And we got people who profit off of misery. And if we really want to help the women in Texas, we need to make sure that Abbott is no longer their governor when his seat comes up. And we need to get out any representative that was sitting there with the hard hands as they made one of the most obtrusive abortion laws. And I know people are like, well, why can't Biden just do something? That nonsense makes me feel like a lot of yous have skipped out on civics class. And I said it last night in that video, and I mean it. If you want proper legislation, you need proper local representation. Everybody wants to yell, well, the Democrats are controlling everything now. But are we? I honestly don't think you understand what a technical majority is. We do not have full control of the Senate. The GOP can put us in a deadlock because we do not have enough senators. And if you're in a deadlock, yes, currently the VP can be the tiebreaker. It doesn't mean we can just ram stuff past. And you know how we can help not be deadlocked? Is that some of you states that talk about how you care about women's rights in Texas and people's rights in Afghanistan to get out and vote in your local elections and not just elect somebody who talks big but doesn't have the work behind them because we have enough of those squawking squad members. We need pure vetting. And far too many people forget that the freedom that you enjoyed came off the backs of people who didn't have it. And I don't want us to have to go back for some people to appreciate that. I want us to get to a day and age where we don't have to constantly struggle to appreciate what we have. I think it goes without saying that abortion is not an easy topic. Being pro choice doesn't mean I want to see any life extinguished. If anything, I feel like I'm pro life in the fact that once a life is here, once a child is here, I want them to be taken care of. I want them to have a chance to grow. I want them to be loved and cherished and be able to grow and decide for themselves what path in life they have. That's what being pro life should be about, but it's not. Pro lifers are pro controllers. They want to control the body because they see females as nothing but vessels for babies. And they see trans people as nothing to think about. When people talk about having babies, they don't even come to think that a person who identifies as a man could literally become a mom if they have the parts for it, if they're in transition, because they don't want to think that hard. They don't want to think about the shift in our society that allows this to be. And that the fact is that there will be a future where things are made and the human body adapts to certain things. I've written about things like that in my own sci fi. We are a ever changing world. And we need to grow with that mindset. And I know it can be scary. And I know some people don't understand it or want to understand it. But it's going to happen whether you want to or not. And I see people digging their heels. And there's one group, I don't even want to give them too much credit, but they said the Bible is pro life. And I had to ask, did you read this book? And I'm not saying that to knock the Bible, but as somebody who studied the Bible, because my family had wanted me to be a Sunday school teacher when I was younger, there is not a book that I know that has as much death, war, famine, and destruction. You're talking about the Bible's pro life, but the Bible shows a lot more death than most Hollywood movies. Stop using religion as a way to be intrusive in people's bodies. The choice between whether to have a life, to even make a life, should be between the people making them. And there are always extenuating factors that make that even non black and white. So if it's not your child, if it's not your body, mind your damn business. Stop trying to control what isn't your business. That's a problem with our species. And that's a problem with the GOP, especially because they mask it as morality. They mask it as, oh, we're just looking out, trying to be pious, as they shit on fellow human beings. You're going to tell me that the same people who are supposedly worried about a fetus, in the same breath, say giving free lunch to kids is spoiling them, are pro-life? In what world? The same people who are supposedly pro-life are very keen on the death penalty for alleged criminals and actual criminals. So, selective pro-life, how's that working out for you? You don't want to extend any kind of kindness or charity to people who don't look like you, talk like you, think like you, or pray like you. But you're pro-life. How? You're just pro-control. And if we want to stop these people from having power and leadership, it's on us. We keep looking for other people to be our own heroes. But organizing, voting these motherfuckers out, and keeping them out of positions of power is the only way we are going to have actual progress. Because we have seen the levels of their cruelty, y'all. We have seen that they would much rather pass a law that they know will put women in a bind. And if you notice that that law in Texas does not make an exception for incest victims or sexual assault victims, because to them, we are just human baby incubators. They don't want to see us as human because dehumanization is the root of their power. And I am sick of seeing that. I want to see more people that see us all as equal, viable life. That's what pro-life should mean. But too many don't understand that. And too many take the title and run with it because it sounds catchy. And we need to call them out on their BS. And not only that, we need to elect people that want to legislate for all of us, even the ones that are acting a fool, y'all. I know that it's easy to go, I just want people to look out for me and mine. I don't care about anybody. Trust me, that has been my ideal for a while, and I had to grow out of that, and I have to unlearn that. Protecting me and mine is baked in me. But I had to realize that every human is me and mine, even the dumbasses that I don't like. Because when they are uplifted, even if they bitch about it, it's better for all of us. And we can always ignore the people who are going to complain. You think I'm going to argue with a maggot right now? Come on. Welcome to the chat, Terry. Exactly. I agree on that. It is. But you think I'm going to argue with a Trumper right now? When all they are doing is bitching. When they're busy harassing women online, talking about, oh, that picture of you with your dog looks kind of suspect. And it's like, dude, we don't need to know your kinks. Keep your nasty stuff out of that. And they attack women so easily because they don't see us as viable human beings. So we can't appeal to these people. I'm not going to try to prove my humanity to somebody who doesn't see me as human. I'm going to work with the people who see me as human and continue to make things better for us. That is the mindset that we have to have if we're going to beat them, because we have a lot of naysayers, y'all. And the bad thing is they have platforms. They have podcasts. They have news shows. And they're already talking about the midterms. The Dems are going to suffer in the midterms. Biden isn't giving us what we want in 8 months. Forget all the fires he has to put out. Forget the fact that we have had destabilization on the home front and abroad. He's not doing what another politician promised me when they were running for president. So I'm going to sit home during the midterms, and we have to work around them. They are purposely trying to sabotage us. And that scares me more than anything because we have seen this over and over again. We've seen it in the early 2000s. We've seen it in the mid 2000s. And we already have the Supreme Court stacked against us. And I said it last night. I want to explain to you why we cannot just stack the courts. Because every Supreme Court nominee has to go through our House of Senate. They have to be approved. There's a process, y'all. And while we probably could get this through our House, because I believe in Speaker Pelosi, the Senate is still not up for grabs. Another thing is, we get this victory. Let's say we get two more justices and we try to balance it out. McConnell, who I'm hoping won't be around to play any more long hauls, you don't think he has groomed his successor? You don't think these idiots, even though they look like idiots, act like idiots, and talk like idiots, aren't coalescing and trying to play another long game? They want you to push ending certain protocols because they know that if they can get a justice system with 9 judges that are right wing, we're fucked. The reason why they have not shot down what's going on in Texas is not cause for alarm yet. Their job is to review it. But the way the media portrays it is that, oh, the Supreme Court's just going to let it go through. A 5-4 decision. I want you to learn how stuff works before you go hyperbolic, but we're not that kind of society. We are so prone to going into extremes instead of being cool, calm, collected, and organized around it. We have to stop letting these people drive up our emotions without thinking. And we have to stop demanding unfeasible things. You want a legislation that works for all of us? You want a legislation that stays out of your body? You have to work towards electing it. You want certain things done for the environment. You want certain things done for your neighborhood. You have to know who your local representative is. You want positive legislation, but you don't want to fight for positive representation. How is that supposed to work? I don't want to be people's mama in this, but I feel like that's where that wisdom's coming from. My grandmother told me when I was young, and I asked her because I remember this so vividly. She brought me to our elementary school because that's where you got to vote. And I stood by her and I was like, Grandma, why are you taking me to this voting booth? Why do I even have to be here? This is just a regular election. It's not for president or anything. And she goes, all elections matter. They matter because who you send to represent you locally works in DC. And at that time, she was voting for a senator, and I did not realize that at the time. And when she broke it down to me, how important that it is to know your local clerks, your school board members, your judges, because a lot of people don't even realize that we elect our judges. The judicial systems here in Michigan, they're a constant hotbed of who's who and what laws are they trying to let pass. But people don't want to pay attention to that, and then they bitch and complain. You have to keep focused, and I am so glad that she taught me early on, and I've done the same for my son. He is ready, and next year he can register. By 18, he'll be able to legally vote. And I wish more people would instill that in their kids. There is nothing wrong with young people wanting to vote and wanting to know their power to vote. What I have a problem with is with young people who are affluent, especially talking about, well, I should withhold my vote. This administration isn't doing enough for me. That's not how that works. Your vote is important. And I don't ever want people to feel like it's not. But if you're going to hold hostage something you weren't utilizing anyway, we don't need you. We need people who are ready to take this seriously. And some of y'all aren't ready to graduate from the kiddie table with this. You're threatened. How are threats going to help any of us? Some of you women this week, especially white women, you've been on some shit talking about, well, you're going to need this 47%. Are you really taking your vote away? Is that what you're telling black women like me when you say you're going to need us? No, you're going to need us. Because if the 90% of us decide we're tired of carrying the load, we don't want to do this anymore, this country is fucked. And don't even try to turn it back because we've had 4 years of being fucked. We've had over 400 years technically of being fucked by y'all's policy. So stop it. The threats do not do y'all justice and it makes you look weak. You can't hostage negotiate with stuff with us. We are tired of this. And the one thing that really burnt me up was the whole comparison to horrific things. Had this woman Joyce. I'm sure some of you know her. Most of us have a bit of respect for her because she seemed like one of those journalists that really just wants to put the truth out. And the thing that happened in Texas made a lot of us heated. A lot of people tweeted in anger. It happens. But what we are not going to do, white women, is say that you're slaves or that this abortion law, this 6 weeks rollback, is akin to slavery. Because if you knew how brutal and the realities of slavery was, you would know there's no comparison. And that's the problem. We have more people yelling at school board meetings not to teach the realities of slavery and how long it existed in this country before the Civil War than we do people who actually know. You know how bad it is because you use it as a comparison. But you got to understand something. This rollback, while barbaric in thought, and the whole idea of calling in the bounty is stupid. And it's going to be fought. We have measures like the ACLU. We have people who are trying to already strategize and organize. It is nothing like slavery because this country isn't going to go to a war behind it. We literally had to have a war so that my people could be called human beings again. So what we're not going to do, white women, is jump on board any thought process of calling this slavery. I'm tired of having to have these conversations, but I'm not going to stop because some of you are in my fucking mentions trying to argue with me that, oh, she just meant the bounty things. There's no comparison at all. And if you can fix your face to tell an actual descendant of slaves that there is, you're part of the problem. I know that fear is high. I've seen all those handmaiden references. But for all of you who think, and I love the person who said this, all of you who think that Jews are the Serenas, which I believe she's the hero of this story, the good white woman that's trying to fight for everybody, the majority of your demographic are the women who would benefit from a Gilead. And y'all need to understand that they are not giving up their place as the plantation princesses. So you can either get with us and organize, or you can want to pat on the head and not confront them or not do anything about them. And we continue to stagnate. But what you're not going to do is come to me as somebody who knows suffering, who has the ancestral ties to suffering, and still pursues on because that's the only thing we can do, and act like, I don't know what to do. I got to be hyper and emotional, but do nothing with that energy. That's all you've been doing all week, and it's exhausting. Take that energy you have to cry and lament. Take that supposed anger you have that you're typing furiously on your phone or social media and start organizing. When Hillary was cheated out of the presidency, she could have easily said, you know what, deuces. I'm going to go to France. I'm going to go to another country. I am done. She is still organizing. You know how I know? Because I'm part of Onward Together. You know, that organization that she got together right after the tragedy of 2016. She did not let that loss stop her because she still cares about this country, even though it doesn't give a damn about her. She, as I said before, knows more than ever what it's like to be a black woman, even though she's not a black woman. If you want to be an ally instead of telling black women, you show. That is why Hillary had so many of us going to the back for her, and that's why we still go to the back for her. All the help that she has been doing without any kudos, because the media sure as heck still want to use her as a boogeyman. All the organizations she's doing to help people because she is a real one. And we need more real ones running shit, y'all. We have had too many people who stunt for power, who want to make a name for themselves, who want to have six-figure book deals while they stunt on the Capitol steps. Yeah, I'm going after that heifer again because she gets on my nerves. And you gonna brag about a 60K book deal, right? That 60K can help a lot of people being evicted. But oh no, do you think those proceeds are gonna go to that? Because I sure as heck don't. A lot of people like talkers instead of doers. I'd rather back a doer, even a doer who, according to y'all, lost. But it wasn't Hillary's loss. It was all of our loss. And I need you to remember that every time you try to score a dig. That loss was 600K plus lives. That loss was the destabilization of our nation and beyond. That loss was what happened in Afghanistan. And every time you try to say, oh, she wouldn't have been better, she couldn't have been worse than Trump. And you know it. And it's emotionally and intellectually dishonest to try and work on using that money, using that energy to have real progress. Because these people that you're amplifying, they're not doing anything for the poor. They use poverty as porn. They want to yell about what Biden and Harris isn't doing in 8 months when they literally have to undo 4 years of fuckery. I need you to understand something. Politics and anything in life is not instant unless you're cooking something. And even then, I never liked instant meals. They're always fast for a reason, but they're not good for you. To have real, lasting, effective progress, it takes incremental steps. And to have change, you have to be practical and pragmatic. And they're starting to realize that. Now they're trying to rebrand themselves as pragmatic. They're not pragmatic. They're still whining about what's not being done and how we can't do anything in the midterm to show it to the establishment. Y'all got to be wary of what people say and what they do. If their actions don't match their words, don't support them. Don't amplify them. Don't even argue with them. Move on. They use every single bit of attention you get them to raise their own clout. But you know how you don't get clout? By not getting any attention. That's why I say all the time. So many of y'all argue with like Brianna and No Edge Owens. Why? They're gonna have their fans no matter what. But even after a while, the fans start to see through them. Because if you step out of line with people like that, they turn on you. So instead of feeding their egos by constantly having their names in your mouth or retweeting them to argue with them, move on. I want to see more Sharice Davis retweets instead of Maori Taylor Green or whatever her name is. I want to see more Lucy McBaths and Lauren Underwood retweets because these women are out there doing the thing. And if they're not tweeting because they're too busy legislating, find people who are actually doing journalistic pieces and amplify them because there are a lot of hardworking journalists that get no sway at all. No, instead, y'all amplify doom porn salesmen like Sarah Cressender. And what kills me about her is that I respected her. Uh oh. Okay. Okay. All right. Oh man, that is on a roll too. I don't know. It has to be Twitch. But this is supposed to like sync up in another place when that happens. So, oh man, I do apologize for the technical issues though. But hopefully people understand that I am not here to crap on women. I bring up Sarah Kessinger because she went for somebody I respected to one of the biggest doomsayers on social media and beyond. And it's because people see that getting us enraged and scared sells. And I want us to be wary of those people because when you get that depression in you, you start being apathetic. When you start being apathetic, you don't vote. When you don't vote, people who are cruel take over those positions. And when they're that cruel, laws like this rollback get put in place. It all connects. And I know it's hard because you want to engage with these people. Sometimes it's fun to drag them, but you got to learn how to walk away from people who just want to bring you down. They are anchors to your soul and to your growth. Do not let them do this. I really want people to understand what's at stake. Like, there's been a real big rise on anti-black feminism. I seen a whole week's worth of brother men talking about, well, black women are just being more masculine. And I was like, what the fuck is that about? What are you talking about more masculine? Gender is a construct. It's a social construct made to make men and women feel different from each other and to dehumanize women. And that is a core root of misogyny. And then I seen some black pick me girls amplifying that bullcrap too, talking about how, oh yeah, black women aren't acting more feminine, and that's why black men don't want them. And you know what? I'm gonna stop you right there. Because you swear black men don't want us. You get mad when white men want to date us. Everybody likes to tell us we're not desirable, but fashion wise, you see women trying to freaking get my lips, my hips, and everything else. So excuse me if I don't believe yous anymore. And to tell me that I'm masculine because I have to be a bit tougher because I grew up in a world that devalues and dehumanizes me every way, shape, and form, that I have to more than likely be the only parent in my home sometimes, or when my partner have to be his rock. Come on now. We are going to stop doing that. You Thank you and welcome back. You are not going to devaluate my humanity and your weird ideal of what feminism is, especially since it's so toxic. You're telling black women that we're not feminine enough for you, but then when you look at black females, you disrespect them anyway. You want us to be your mama, you want us to be your homeboy, you want us to be everything but respected. And I'm not okay with that. And I noticed that the rise, and especially Misogynoir, has been great because of our VP, because they see the trajectory that she is making towards becoming our first female president, and they want to try to shut it down. That's why that little weird former TikTok short alpha male guy was going on about, you're not a queen, you're not anything. And like, y'all, I'm not normally one for online bullying or bullying, period, but I kind of give it to Black Twitter for teaching that child a lesson. How you be in your bathroom talking about alpha male? You're not even ruler of your own house if you can't tape wherever the heck you want. And you're going to tell women that they're not your queens, but I bet you thought you was somebody's king? The problem with this whole societal standard is people aren't teaching people to value each other equally. Why do you have to be the ruler of your house? You should be working to have a house where everybody feels appreciated and cherished so that we have less instability. But no, some of y'all are just vying to be waited on. Not in my house and not beyond. And don't think I haven't seen why this misogyny is so great. Some of you men are insecure with yourselves. You have a lot of conflicting emotion. You've been told by society men aren't supposed to show emotion. That's bullshit. Men should be allowed to show emotion. Men should be allowed to be whoever the fuck they want to be. That's why some of you have so much problem with Lil Nas X. He went through all of that, trying to be that toxic male, trying to be hidden, trying to be everything. And now that he's himself and free, he is living his best life, and you can't stand it because it couldn't be you. You're insecure and it shows. You don't like what you see in the mirror, so you take it out on everybody. You hate what you have inside of you. Instead of working through that and becoming a better person, focusing on the thing that you should like about yourself, you take it out on everybody. And that hate erodes not only you, but everybody around you. And we have been preaching that toxic ass mentality for far too long. If you don't value yourself, you're not going to value your partner. And if you don't value your partner, you're going to bring another life into this world that doesn't have any value. And that is sickening. And I'm tired of seeing our community who has already gone through enough continue this. Have value in yourself. Be right with yourself no matter who you are, and you will see yourself taking care of other people. But too many of you don't have self value, and too many of you have inner conflict and turmoil, and you bring that out, and it's nasty, and we're tired of seeing it. Be more confident in yourself because people who are confident don't need anybody's help. They don't need you telling them anything, and they aren't busy bringing other people down. I notice that the people who do that, they try to fake it. They have to be muscular. They have to be stronger. They have to look a certain way. But they are so insecure. It doesn't take much to get in their head either because they're not really secure. Secure people want to help others because they realize that everybody deserves to feel good. Those of us who have gone through abuse, especially, I hate that whole idea that abuse victims just want to abuse other people. No, we don't. Some might, but for the most part, most of us just don't want to be around that. We don't want to hurt anybody, and we definitely don't want to hurt anymore. And I think a lot of people get that twisted. A lot of people think, oh, if you've gone through an abusive situation, you're going to turn out abusers. No, we're not. I work very hard to keep my house quiet, keep my house stable, keep my house full of love because I didn't have that. And I want people to understand what that's like when you have a mom that literally uses you as every source of negativity in her life. You can either repeat that or you can make sure that you get far away from that. I want to be the kind of mom that my son knows at 65. If I'm still here, he can reach out to me. He can be there and get that hug. He might even try to climb in my lap. He does it now. It's like a Clifford the Big Red Dog episode, I swear. But that is the relationship I want him to always have with me because I don't have that. And I realize that feminism and womanhood is a complex thing. For every woman we can look at and say, I want to be like her, there are several women that we can't. And it's not to put them down because some of them really don't have any other choice in their matter. They are from the cradle raised to believe that their thoughts don't matter. They are there to be somebody's wife and eventually birth another person, and especially if they birth a boy, to cater to him and raise him with that same toxic, I'm better than you attitude. And that's why you cherish the men who really appreciate their mothers and see women as equal human beings. They're not weak. They understand that strength comes when you have people who you love and value. But too many of y'all have been fed, spoon fed garbage. And the only way we're going to deprogram that spoon feeding is to work on ourselves. I know some people think, well, shouldn't we just take these kids away? How are you going to do that? We got to be rational. You want to teach women to value themselves, become teachers. We need more of you. Become mentors if being a full teacher is too hard. Speak to the youth. Don't just look down on them because they're younger. You want a better society. We've got to work together to make it happen. We all play a part in how society is. When we do nothing, bad things happen. When we let our youth just espouse things without explaining because, oh, they're just kids, they'll never get it, bad things happen. We have to be the ones more proactive because there are a lot of people who realize they can manipulate things, that they can make a slogan and have people repeat it. And in the digital age, it's even worse. So we have to be on our game, especially those of us who are old enough to remember how it was. Those of us who can really say back in the day, those of us who remember mass graves, and those of us who are going to remember mass graves again from this COVID thing 20 years from now, we must constantly use our voices to remind people why sleeping is not the answer, why empathy is not the answer, why having an investment in your politics is so important. I hate that I have to constantly repeat these things, but I'm not going to stop because that is what this platform is for. Hey, Beans, it's okay. It's all right. We had some technical issues anyway. Welcome to the chat. I just feel like a lot of people forget that we are our own best path to progress. Some of y'all want to do so much and it becomes overwhelming. But your best way in ensuring change is to make sure that you're right. I know a lot of people who watch this will nod your head, but won't look yourself in the mirror and talk about what good you see in yourself. You don't have a high value of yourself and you try to pass it off. And it is okay to have insecurities. Everybody has something about themselves they're insecure about. Everybody. But that insecurity shouldn't be bigger than what you see good in yourself. You gotta work on that inner reflection because when you truly are right with yourself, believe me, everything else falls into place. And I'm not just saying that to preach, y'all. It really does work. I need more people to really start reflecting what's going on inside of them. And I know it's hard. Some people are afraid if I show too much of my sadness, people will make fun of me. Those people aren't worth it. If you're sad, let it out. Sometimes sharing why you're sad about something and talking with others helps you see that, yeah, it feels bad, but I can keep going. If you're feeling angry about something, talking it out, sharing is not a bad thing. But what we've got to do, especially, is start seeing ourselves as viable, worthy human beings and not just what we can give people. Exactly, Terry. I feel like enough people are starting to get that, but we got to keep working on it. Being alive is a constant work in progress, and there is no such being as a perfect being. Everybody here has flaws, but you are not only your flaws. And we need to start pumping ourselves up and start seeing our worth and value. That is the only way we are going to grow as people. Because I realized that a lot of the negativity, a lot of the lashing out, a lot of these cruel laws are rooted in people who are feeling insecure. They feel insignificant. They feel powerless. And this is the only way they can grab power. But if they like themselves, and if they value their life and human life for real, they wouldn't do stuff like this. They will understand the complexities of people's situation. They will have empathy for people's situation. And we need that more than ever now. We need people to understand. I might not completely understand this person's situation, but I can empathize and I can keep out unless they need me. We need this more than ever, y'all. Work on yourself because you want to enact change. You want to see a better world. If you're not doing your part to make it better yourself, how are you going to school anybody else to do it? Hmm? How are you going to mentor people? How are you going to tell them how to live their life if your life ain't right? If you are so down on yourself, if you don't see your own value, you can't raise other people's value, y'all. It really is that simple. And I know that it ain't easy, especially for us women, because it's like I said earlier in this cast, a lot of society sees us as what we can do making children wise. Our uterus is valued, but our abilities to reason, lead, study, it's always devalued unless they can get credit for it. And that's got to stop. Women have shown we are capable throughout the centuries in education and beyond. And we have got to stop having a society that separates us and tells us one is better than the other because That destabilization is what got us to all these messes in the first place. We have to push for keeping humanity equal and balanced. And I know it feels like it's impossible sometimes, but it isn't. If you can accept that men and women both belong here, whether or not they can make babies or not, whether or not they look a certain way, whether or not they pray a certain way, you're doing the right thing. And we need more people to understand this. That is the way to get change, progress, and for our species to grow. I think a lot of people think that, we have to have violent revolutions to enact change. And sometimes, sadly, depending on how bad the situation is, that is needed. But not always. Our best revolution is a mental one. Changing your mindset is the greatest revolution we will ever have. Growing, working on yourself, and learning. You're never too old to learn. Some people love to get into that mindset too. Oh, I'm too old. I don't need to learn anything. I can't learn anything. I'm stupid. Mm-mm. That's just an excuse you tell yourself because you found a comfort zone that you don't want to get out. But your comfort zone is stagnant. And you should be learning something new until you aren't here anymore. We have these minds for a reason. We have this life for a reason. And don't just let, oh, I failed at that, so obviously I can't learn. Failure's going to happen. You're supposed to be learning something. We are not savants. And the few that are lucky, but they're tortured with stuff too. Take the time every day to learn something new. We are on devices where knowledge is at our fingertips and we don't utilize them. And verify that knowledge. It is not that hard, y'all. But we make it that way. I was talking earlier, and I'm going to get ready to wrap this up, about the problem with people spreading vaccine misinformation. One of the things I keep seeing is people acting like the vaccines will end COVID. Vaccines are here to keep us from dying from COVID. You can still carry, transmit, and pass COVID 19. And for those of you who think, aha, that's a gotcha against vaccines, no. You can still survive if you get the shot. That is why the shot is important. It's just like measles. Most of us, especially my age and up, were inoculated for measles. I still got the measles and the chickenpox as a kid. I survived those things. That is a problem with people. Y'all take words and don't understand what they mean. Vaccination is not cure. They're not calling it the COVID cure. They're calling it the COVID vaccine. Get vaccinated. It is so important because we need to develop the antibodies to make sure that this doesn't keep raging. That is why it's important. And if you don't want to get sick, on top of vaccination, stay your ass at home and let you have to be out. And if you're determined to be out, mask up. But some of you act like toddlers with this. And you don't want to try to understand the reason why it's so important to do the right thing. But when I see babies on respirators, more news every day of somebody dying, whether it's a teacher or a child or somebody's mom, dad, brother, uncle, husband, cousin, it's tiring. And our mental health cannot take this constant death. And it's preventable. That's the shit that bothers me about this. All of this is preventable. But we're being selfish. And it's got to stop. So if you're doing the right thing, I hope you know that wasn't for you. And I hope I don't have to go patting you on the head for doing the right thing. This is for the people who are still in the middle for some reason. You still don't know if you should do it. Is it worth taking that risk? Is it really worth you not being here? You don't have anything going on in your life that you want to be here for? Because that's what you're telling us when you don't do the right thing. Please do it. I need you to understand that you're putting people at risk unnecessarily. You're overburdening our hospitals unnecessarily. Do the right thing and be safe. Your safety matters to everybody. But it should matter to you more than everybody else. I just don't understand why it's got to be like this. But I'll never stop talking common sense because we need it. I'm going to get ready to wrap this up, but I want to talk and end this with some hope. They indicted the people who murdered Elijah McCann. And if you don't know this story, I don't know where you've been. He was a young man who in 2019 was on his way home. He has autism. He was 19 years old. He worked in a veterinary hospital. He played violin for cats. Every time I see pictures of him, I think that could be Kiddo. So this is not an easy story for me to get through. But Elijah was walking home when he was accosted by the police in Colorado. And not only was he accosted by police, he was accosted by paramedics. And they had took this young man who did nothing wrong. They swore he tried to grab a gun, but that was proven not to be the case. They put him in restraints and they injected him with ketamine. He had an allergic reaction and he died. They murdered that bright young soul. And for years now, we have been trying to get justice, and they finally put indictments on, but I am waiting. I'm holding all the hopes that we actually get an indictment to become a verdict. Because we've seen that they really believe they can get away with murder. When they had a memorial for Elijah, the people who were responsible went to mock that memorial because they have no humanity when it comes to us. And I really am hopeful after what happened to Derek Chauvin that we will see more of these people pay for being this cruel. But it takes all of us electing prosecutors and electing judicial officials who will see their cruelty and match it with sentencing. So please say a prayer with me for the McCann family that Elijah gets the justice he deserves. And that we can move on to Breonna Taylor's family and the many, many others who have suffered from police injustice. Because that is what I'm hoping for right now. And while I pray for the women in Texas, they have a lot of people fighting for them. So do not lose hope. We have to work together to get this stuff done, y'all. And I know we can do it. But it really does take all of us. I'm going to wrap this up. I will see you all next week. Thank you so much for being a part of the chat, y'all. I really love and appreciate all of you. Thank you, Axiom, for being the mod. I told y'all.